You have a TV?
No. I just like to read the TV guide. Read the TV guide. You don't need a TV.
Television addict! Television addict! Television addict!
Hello and welcome to TV Guidance Counselor. I am Ken Reed. I am your TV Guidance Counselor. As always, it is Wednesday. It is time for a brand new episode of the show, and I am incredibly excited about this episode. I will try not to waste too much time going on and on and on about exactly why, but the reason I am very excited, 2 words, Dana Gould. He is my guest this week. He is one of my favorite comedians of all time. I can attribute the reason I do stand-up comedy more or less to Dana Gould. When I was growing up here in Boston, I did not quite identify with the who's this guy kind of stuff. When I realized Dana was actually from here and is really smart and liked a lot of the same things that I do and had a similar aesthetic and outlook, I thought, this might be something I can do someday. So either thank him or blame him, depending on how you look at my show. Dana also has an incredible podcast called The Dana Gould Hour, which was one of the major inspirations for this show, which is TV Guidance Counselor. If you are checking out this show for the first time because you are just a fan of Dana, welcome. You have great taste. I think you will enjoy this very, very much. The concept of this show, I've been doing it about 2 years now, is that I own every single edition of TV Guide, which is true. Somebody picks an old edition of TV Guide, they sit down, they look through it, and they talk about what they would watch in that week in history, and it's a lot of fun. Occasionally people don't go very strict format. We just kind of flip through a bunch of TV guides, and that is what we did with Dana. We were in a bit of a time crunch. He was in town for the Boston Comedy Festival, and thanks to them for bringing him to town, and was nice enough to take an hour out of his day in between shows to talk to me about old TV, and I was very, very happy to have it. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy this week's episode of TV Guidance Counselor with my guest, Dana Gould.
TV is my friend, and it has been always there for me in time of need.
Mr. Dana Gould, hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Thank you so much for returning to Harvard Square for the first time in a long time.
Exactly.
For braving the
where I never went to school.
Yes, many of us did not.
Yes, but I did work at the Coop.
Oh, did you really?
I did work at the Coop.
What?
I replaced Steven Wright in the stationery department.
Oh, excellent.
Yes.
Excellent. What was your favorite stationery item that you would recommend to people?
My big memory of working at the Coop was people buying a pen and putting it on their credit card.
Right. Just like
32-cent pen.
A Harvard pen?
Yeah, 32%. Yeah, often by an Asian exchange student that did not speak English,
right,
and spoke in a series of hostile grunts.
Yes. But I didn't have a credit card. Yeah. They needed the pen to sign the credit card slip, ironically.
Exactly.
It was just a ridiculous conundrum.
The whole thing was just, fond memories of me at my worst.
Yes, it sounds like it.
Worst period of my life.
Yeah, I have similar feelings about Harvard Square in many ways. Spent a lot of money on records I didn't need. And
oh, gosh, yes.
You felt a lot of angst.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
So I plied you with a bunch of TV guides here that were kind of the era I guessed that you probably watched the most TV. I don't know how accurate that was.
But pretty dead on.
Sort of mid to late 70s.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And you almost had difficulty picking, but you were like, I own this one. This one has fun memories.
I was into TV guy because, back when there were 7 channels or what have you, here in Boston we had Channel 2, which was PBS, 4, 5, and 7 was NBC, ABC, CBS. You could get 12 from, I believe, Rhode Island.
Yep, which was WJAR. And did you get 64 where you were?
64 came later, and then we had 27.
Yep, which
38.
is now Univision.
Right. Oh, really?
Yeah.
27 was, back then it was the Bowery Boys.
Yep.
That was the only thing they had was the Bowery Boys and Evan Costello.
Before it turned into V66.
Oh, 27 did become V66. Yeah. I remember V66. Yep. And then Channel 38, 56, and 64.
Yeah, I got to luckily work at 38 for a little bit when I was in college.
Really?
But it was sad because TV 38, people don't know, was like our big super station.
Yeah,
sort of
it was amazing. Yeah.
They had the movie Loft and Dana Hersey.
Yeah,
was,
Creature Features.
And all that.
No, wrong.
56 was Creature
56 had Creature double feature.
With Dale Dorman.
Who passed away recently.
He did, yes. After he was doing the morning show at ODS for a while.
Yeah.
Wow. But 38, I worked at BZ, Channel 4, and they bought 38. And I loved 38 because
Sure.
we grew up watching it. It was always the big thing.
Clint Eastwood week
yes.
continues.
We're showing the Deer Hunter uncut, which
I
they did
remember that.
do, which was
that.
crazy.
I remember that.
Over the air, uncut
Yeah.
the Deer Hunter.
Yeah.
I don't know how they got away with that, but we had to go, and I was like an intern when I was in college, when they had just fired everybody and like clear out their offices.
Oh, God.
And I didn't want to do it. And this guy I worked with, who was basically like a human Yogi Bear, would come in and be like, "Hey, you don't need this TV." He's like taking it. I was like, "Oh, this is the worst." But I salvaged a bunch of tapes from there that I had. So
well,
it was.
When I was on a sitcom years ago called Working with Fred Savage, and we did one of those roundtable press things. So they bring in press from all over the country, and you do an interview, and they air it as local. I got interviewed by Dana Hersey.
Nice.
He comes in, and I was like, "Now I have made it."
Yes.
And I told him the letter of mine that he read on Ask the Manager. And I blew his mind because he remembered the letter. Because one time they showed Conquest of the Planet of the Apes with the reels out of order.
Right.
And
You weren't happy about it.
I was, 15, but I wrote for 15 years old, a really funny letter about like other things they could do.
Out of order just to mix it up?
Yes.
I bet he loved that on Ask the Manager.
But he also remembered writing the letter, and it was really one of those weird moments. Like I remember that. I remember.
Yes,
that.
worlds are colliding.
Yeah, it was really funny. He was a very sweet man.
I have footage of him interviewing 3/4 of Monty Python that were living at the time, and he is apparently a huge Monty Python fan.
That makes sense. Yeah.
He wrote a sketch and makes them do it with him,
no.
and they do it. Like I can't believe they do it, and it's about as good as you think it is, but
Yeah.
it's entertaining for all the wrong reasons. It's
That's fantastic. God
he was
love
a
him.
mountain of a man too. Like he
Yeah,
was
he
like
was
an old radio announcer.
Yeah, he was an old guy. I'm sure he's still around.
He's
right?
still around. Yeah. He used to do a show called We Don't Knock. I don't know if you remember that.
No, sounds terrifying.
It might have been after you moved away, but it was him like basically busting into local Boston places unannounced and interviewing people. Like he just went into a show at the Rat. He was like, "I'm Dana Hersey," and just like interviewing unsuspecting people, or like
fantastic.
kicking down the door at PCN while they're on the air. Charles Laquadera, I'm here for you. Yeah,
Terrifying Charles Laquadera.
yes, in a sweater vest that he's just angry.
Who was the morning guy on FNX?
FNX Morning Guy Ty was forever.
Yeah, Morning Guy Ty.
Yep.
Morning Guy Ty. Yeah.
He's still around. Yeah. He had just left. I worked there in the late 90s, early 2000s when they were trying to compete with BCN as like an alt rock station.
Yeah. Well,
And
they were the alt rock
They
station.
were,
Yeah.
but they weren't happy with that. They wanted to play
They
like
wanted more?
Ozzy. They wanted to be like a new metal. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was-
And that was back when BCM was just, if it was a band, it was a band, but it had to be from Boston.
Yes,
It was
pretty
like,
much.
you'll get like one song from the Rolling Stones, 5 songs from the Jay Giles Band.
Yep. Then Boston for an hour.
Yeah, Boston, Aerosmith, and then maybe a song by the Beatles, and then 5 songs by Jay Giles.
And you two who are honorarily from Boston.
Yeah, Arno, yes, indeed.
I don't know if this was the case when you were growing up here, but my favorite thing is like ridiculous townies who will defend anything from Ireland. And the example I always use, because I've really heard this, is saying how great the Corrs are.
Oh, God.
Because they were like, no, the Corrs are pretty fucking good.
Pretty fucking
They could
They'll
fucking
walk
rock.
500 miles.
Yeah, and I'm just like, whoa, okay.
Because it's from Ireland.
It's like, if they weren't from Ireland.
They don't think of you as their brother, you know.
No. I remember I was at Newbury Comics, which is our local music chain. Newbury
Comics.
Yes, for the listener, in case they don't know.
Oh, I see.
But they always instruct the clerk to like say something about what you're buying.
Right, yeah.
And some kid was buying a record by this British rap group called The Streets. And he had like the Celtics jersey down to his ankles.
Yeah, sure.
And, the guy was like, "Oh, this is a really good record." And he goes, "Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's kind of hard for me to buy it because, like, they're from London and, like I'm Irish. And, it's tough." And I was like, "Oh, my God, this poor clerk."
Yeah.
So you're watching all
Well,
the-
you're a fool.
Yes.
I remember once walking down Melrose Avenue in L.A., and Elliot Easton
Oh, wow.
was walking the other way.
Yes.
And he was staring at me.
Really?
And I couldn't figure out why, because I certainly knew who he was, and he's staring at me. That's really weird.
Yeah.
And then I realized later, because I was wearing a Newbury Comics t-shirt.
I thought you were going to say, because I was dressed like Rick Ocasek.
I was dating Paulina Poroskova at the time.
She was on my
She
arm.
was
It was
catting out with
very
me.
weird.
But it was very strange. Like, he's like, "Oh, there's a Boston guy." And they're
Yeah.
probably annoyed that I didn't recognize him.
Yeah. Be like, "Are you Elliot Easton? Can you play some riffs?"
We're both from the 617.
Did you see the episode of the Midnight Special that the Cars hosted in the early 80s?
No, but I will on YouTube tonight.
It's amazing because I don't know if you used to watch a lot of those
I do.
music
I
shows.
actually bought the DVD set of the Midnight Special because it's amazing.
Yeah.
Even the early, like Todd Rundgren dressed like Elton John.
Yes.
Just in while I'm going to sing a song on TV, I should dress like a spaceman.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then, but then, like, it's great, like live performances by Blondie. Like the late '70s, they would have everybody. They like,
oh yeah,
the Devo, the Tubes, Blondie, like all these amazing new wave bands were on all the time
on a major network, which was crazy.
Yeah. And they'd have like Steve Martin would come on and do 11 minutes of stand up,
or Tim Thomerson sometimes.
Tim Thomerson would do a lot. Do stagecoach again.
Yes, yeah. But I always the coolest thing about that show to me was that they let the bands curate the other acts on the show.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So the Cars put Suicide on the show.
That's amazing.
Which is it's 1983.
Yeah.
It's NBC, I think.
Yeah.
And the Suicide is on playing Ghost Rider.
That's fantastic.
I was like, you couldn't do this now.
John Belushi tried to put Fear on SNL, and they wouldn't let him do it.
Yes. No, they did get on.
Oh, they did get on.
Yeah.
But I think they cut. Did they not cut it or something? Or?
They did 2 songs. They brought all the punks from DC up. So Ian Mackay was there and everything, and they had a mosh pit, and they cut them the second song.
Right.
So they got a full song on. Yeah. It was when Donald Pleasance hosted.
Right, because Halloween.
Yeah.
Right.
And Lee Ving got in an argument with him, because Donald Pleasance was introducing the band, and he goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, fear." And he's like, "It's fear. It's fear. It's not fear." Like, I'm like, he's British. That's how he says it. And if I've heard interviews with him where it comes up and he's still mad about it. Like, he's like, "This fucking guy says fear."
He's an actor. Leave him alone.
I'm like, it's Donald Pleasance.
Leave him alone.
It's going to sound good. He's an old man. It's fine. It's fine.
Speaking of Halloween,
yes,
I'm staring at a TV guide that I own.
And did you purchase that because it's Night Gallery?
Yes, it's from June of 1972.
Yep.
Now, we used to... Oh, and I just opened it up to Bill Cosby talks to children about drugs.
Terrifying.
I'm assuming it's which drugs to pour into a rag.
Yes.
And have your nanny breathe.
Now, let me show you the weight chart for how much to use.
Sometimes you have to overdose them, and then you need
bring
some
them back
smelling salt.
from the brink.
Sometimes they ain't breathing, and you hold it in the fizzle and the frazzle and the fizzle. But like a TV guide would come out on Monday or Tuesday for the following week, and there was, and I would go and I would get it at Rico's Market in Hopedale, Massachusetts. And I would immediately open up to the movie listings. They had movies, and I would see what horror movies or sci-fi movies were on that I wanted to watch. And
the
then you'd mark them
1970s
down.
video store.
That's exactly what it was. And you couldn't, you didn't have a DVD, you didn't have VHS, you didn't have anything. So it's like if, Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman was on, you had to find out when it was on. And in my house, you had to, if you weren't in school, which they were never on while you were in school, but, and you had to make sure that you could, quote, get the TV.
Because you had, what,
I have four older brothers, and a dad, and everybody's a sports nut. So it's like something on television during the week, during the day, you're out of luck,
But, I mean, a lot of those movies were on at, like, midnight.
Yeah, like 11:30. Before Creature Double Feature, I believe it was Channel 5 had classic horror.
Yes, on Friday nights, I think it was.
And so you get them on that.
Yeah, and I think they were the first station here to buy that Shock Theater package in the 70s.
Yeah.
And then it went to, I think, 56.
Went to 56. But that was after Feep.
Yes, the weird balloon.
Yeah, the light bulb from space.
The movie today is Unknown Island.
That might be the weirdest host tweet that I think in the US.
Feep in the annals of horror hosts.
Yeah.
Feep is something of legend. I don't know what channel Feep was on. I feel
like it might have been 56.
Yeah.
I might be wrong, though.
On the interweb.
I'm sure someone's written a whole dissertation.
Somebody made a Feep doll. I saw that online, yeah.
It might actually be the son of Feep.
It could be the son of Feep, yeah.
It was the Roswell
Son
crash.
of Feep would be a great,
I would watch that.
I would. That's the only job I want.
Is a horror host?
Yeah. It's the only job I'm qualified for.
Yeah.
And I've told, I don't know if you watch Son of Svengoolie on
MeTV.
I told him repeatedly, because I did the show recently. I was like, when you're ready to, I don't want to take your job,
right?
But when you're ready to retire, just call me up. I'll do it.
But I remember watching you on. You used to be a frequent guest on Real Wild Cinema. Which is kind of the closest thing maybe that you've gotten to doing.
And I'm friends with people at TCM, and I keep telling like, I'll do it.
Yeah, because they've had like Neil Gaiman host some stuff.
Yeah,
for Halloween. It's not the same.
Yeah, no, it's not.
I don't know if you've heard the Ernie Bach Jr. issue here.
No, I don't.
Are you familiar with Ernie Bach?
I do know the name.
Yes. Ernie Bach owned a bunch of car dealerships down in the
Right, yeah, Ernie Bach Ford.
Yeah.
Right.
His son.
That's how I know the name.
Yes. His son, Ernie Bach Jr., took over the business and built it into he's a billionaire now, went to Berkeley. So now he just does whatever he wants around here.
Right.
So a few years ago, he personally paid to bring back Creature Double Feature on WLVI for one day if he could host it. So he's got like this full makeup on, and it's picture the Ernie Bach, but younger.
That's amazing.
But it's not good though.
Of course it's not.
Yeah.
That's what's even good about it.
It's a second generation car delership magnate just living out his fantasies for all of us to see.
Oh, what movie? Please, it should have been like Christine and
just car things. Actually, the Ford Fury Plymouth Fury's on sale. Come on down.
How funny you mentioned the Ford Fury.
It was he just cuts in, or just the price shows up every time it's on screen. No money down. No money down. One owner. He did 2 Godzilla movies, which is classic. For that,
it's good.
But, it was such a mix. It was the most mixed feelings I've ever had.
It was always the lamest double feature that they always had was Majin, Monster of Terror, and The Return of Majin.
Yes, which thematically makes sense.
Yeah. It was just a terrible old Japanese shogun warrior.
I remember my favorite weird Japanese double feature I saw in there was what's the mushroom people?
There's the Manster.
Not Manster.
The mushroom people is. I think it might be called the mushroom people.
It's something the mushroom people.
Mysterious Island,
something like that.
I know the movie
really
of which you
weird
speak.
Japanese movie.
It's a very weird.
And then
I know the movie of which you speak.
It's like Yog from space.
Yog, yeah.
That was one of my favorite. In the slime people.
Slime People's great.
Yeah.
War of the Gargantuas is like the
one.
Gone with the Wind of Japanese monster movies.
And Ultraman used to be on TV 38 too.
Yes, I remember that very well.
Weirdly, I found out later that Ultraman didn't air in the whole U.S.
Oh, really? I didn't know that either.
And
it's so huge in Asia.
Oh, yeah.
It is the most licensed character, surpassing Mickey Mouse.
I'm not surprised. I mean, it's a cool show for sure. First time I went to LA, I went to Little Tokyo and found 70s Ultraman figures, and it blew my mind because the only place
Have you ever seen the images of Ultraman crucified?
No.
Yeah, in the
Stations of the Cross.
Yes, in the world of Ultraman, there was one of the Ultraman series. All of the Ultraman, there's like 5 of them, and they were lured to this planet, and they were all crucified.
Okay.
And you can just go online, Google image Ultraman crucified, and there's a bunch of Ultramen on the cross.
As if we had to say this, it's from Japan.
It's from Japan.
My favorite Japanese,
but it's oddly beautiful.
It is. It's a great, cool show. Yeah. Especially the '60s one is so weird.
Yes, I could sing this. I could sing the theme song.
Ultraman,
here he comes from the sky.
Yep. I liked the Australian Towards the Future one from the late '80s as well.
Yes,
that was pretty cool. But the top 5 movies in Japan forever. Number 2 was E.T. Do you know what number 1 was?
No, I'm flummoxed by number 2.
It was a movie called Raped by an Angel. It was the number 1 box office movie in Japan for decades. And another top 10 was Raped by an Angel 2.
Wow.
Yeah. They're a strange culture there. Very strange culture. Have not been.
Doesn't that disqualify you from angelhood?
I think so. I think
I would right out of the gate.
That's got to be in the handbook or something. Out of there. Just call it Lucifer.
Could not help but notice.
But Rod Serling did the Night Gallery, which is the
Night Gallery. I'm a Rod Serling fan.
I love the Night Gallery. I think it's completely underrated.
It's what I find fascinating about the Night Gallery is. It is more recent than the Twilight Zone and far more dated
than the
Twilight Zone. The Twilight Zone being shot, but right out of the gate, infinitely superior show. No comparison. The Twilight Zone, and it was shot in the late 50s, early 60s. They had that sort of timeless aesthetic before things got groovy and weird and really super dated.
Black and white helps.
Yeah, the black and white. Beautiful cinematography, beautiful crisp writing, beautiful acting. Twilight Zone, essentially timeless. The Night Gallery, just the opposite.
Yeah.
And you get like Artie Johnson playing the devil.
Yeah.
Bert Convy playing a Vietnam vet who turns into a tree. It's all of these terrible. And Rod hated it because he had no artistic control.
It was too groovy. It was
too groovy. He had no artistic control. I think the guy was Mel Laird.
Oh, yes.
Who took over the show and wouldn't let Rod do a GD thing.
You're just hosting.
You were just hosting and then doing floor wax commercials.
It was basically like a horrific Love American style.
That's so funny that you say that. It was. That's exactly right. Exactly right.
But had a couple of great episodes like that. So that one.
There were
the cities, the hills, or something, and the snow. The one about winter.
Winter, Silent Snow, Secret Snow.
Yes, that is amazing.
That is an amazing episode. The one where Elsa Lanchester, I think it's called Green Thumb,
yes,
or Green Fingers,
yes,
is brilliant. Also, there was one, I don't know the name of it. I just remember it very well, where Vincent Price gets chopped up into pieces.
And then the pieces
come after the person.
Yeah.
That was a great one. Yeah, no, I remember them all weird. And it's funny, I was on my podcast, the Dana Gould Hour, available on iTunes. Patton Oswalt and I talked about the Night Gallery extensively on the most recent episode. And the theme music was terrifying.
It was very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was very atonal and bizarre.
Did you ever see...
it was very scary. Monday nights on NBC, Night Gallery.
Which is weird that it even got on for as long as it did. It was 3 seasons.
3 seasons, yeah.
Did you ever see The Dark Room that James Coburn hosted?
No.
Early 80s was maybe half a season. They released a theatrical movie of episodes that never aired called Nightmares, which has the Duke of Battle with Emilio Estevez, and there's a Peter Weller fighting a giant rat and some other stuff. But
that could be anything.
That's the 80s version of Bert Convy turns into a tree.
Yeah, absolutely.
Peter Weller fights a giant rat.
Absolutely, yeah.
But
that's exactly right.
James Coburn.
Grace Slick is a vampire queen.
Grace Slick plays the Ice Queen. It was very, very weird show, totally out of time. It was basically trying to be like an 80s Night Gallery, and it just didn't work.
Yeah. There'll never be another. You can't be the Night Gallery again. You can't be the Twilight Zone again, because it'll never be 1960 again.
Right.
These things are of their time.
And
you have to be
tried.
a different version of it. You have to be a different version of it.
Yeah. Although I did like some of, like, Tales from the Crypt was the very 90s version.
Yes, it was.
I did not particularly care for the Outer Limits remake in the 90s.
No, I don't like any of the remakes. I like people. A great example would be Black Mirror.
Yes.
I like when somebody does a modern. Okay,
it's now.
Yeah, and this is what we do now. Yeah. That's you can't just recreate.
Right. Although that being said, some of the new Twilight
Although the
Zones,
Black Mirror pilot was hardcore, man.
Yeah. I mean, Charlie Brooker always has some ridiculous. Did you see Dead Set?
No.
Oh my God, you have to see Dead Set. It's the best remake / tribute of Dawn of the Dead I've ever seen without being an official remake of Dawn of the Dead. Charlie Brooker wrote and directed it, and it's basically zombie outbreak while the Big Brother house is going on. So it's from the people in the Big Brother house
about that movie,
who don't know what's going on. But if you like Romero's stuff, it gets right what all the current zombie stuff misses about the Romero stuff. Right. And it's really good.
Oh,
it's
that's
really,
fantastic.
really great. And it's terrifying and funny and
Dead
sad.
Set.
Yeah, Dead Set. Really, really good.
I will watch it.
But once again, England is besting us with that
Yeah,
sort of
well, that's what they do.
Yeah.
I just watched... I'm looking through this TV guide as we speak. The latest episode of Doctor Who is one of the finest written hours of television I've seen this year.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
It's just like, this is too good.
I mean, did you watch Fringe at all?
No.
It's
I know people
Yeah.
that just swear by it.
Yeah, there's some really good stuff in there. So your older brothers not into the same kind of stuff at all?
No, they were into monster stuff a lot.
Okay.
But they like sports more. So if there was anything else on, you weren't going to watch it.
Right.
But we had an older television upstairs that I would get to watch stuff on. So the black and white television. But that I inevitably got to see it. And I would run. That was a big part of being a kid in the 70s, if you were like a movie nerd, and was you have to get the TV guide, and you have to go through the TV guide and find out what's on.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons.
And underline it.
Oh, yeah, highlight it. I had kept a notebook. I would write down
Roddy
everything.
McDowell's going to be on Carol Burnett. Want to see that? He's
I
in
have to
Planet
see
of the
that.
Apes. Yeah.
Because you couldn't time shift, and before VHS, which studios fought forever because people couldn't own movies.
Right.
They would make money by re-releasing movies year after year, and showing them on TV would be a big deal. And it's weird explaining that to people now that, like, no, they were going to premiere a movie 4 years after it was in the theater on NBC, and everyone stayed home and watched it.
Yeah, it's true. People and now but it's on my phone now. I know it's different.
It's not even in theaters yet, and it's been beamed into my skull.
It's true. You can't. You can't like own a movie the way you used to. You just had to wait for it to come on.
And I think that's why when I talk to people who are our age and this kind of era, we tend to have more of a connection with these shows because you kind of had to earn it.
Well put. Yeah, it wasn't readily available for free at all times.
Right.
You couldn't watch it on your I was do you know Jonah Ray?
Yeah.
I was talking to Jonah Ray. And Jonah Ray and I share our favorite movie, Ed Wood.
Great movie.
Jonah has it on his phone.
Yeah.
I will not have it on my phone. I don't want to have constant access to it. In fact, I have the DVD, but I usually see it when somebody shows a print of it. Like I want to sit in the theater
Yeah.
and I want to see it. You know, it's just, and especially that movie, which is so gorgeous.
There's so many movies that I'll watch, like if I'm flipping through channels, I'll own the movie, but I'll never watch it.
Yeah,
I'm
but if
flipping
you
through,
see it
it's
on TV, you watch it because there's like
Yeah.
it's like a baseball game. It's
Yeah.
like, no, other people are watching this at the same time.
Yeah,
yeah, totally.
some
I
weird
totally
thing.
get that. Yeah,
I don't know if
totally
other
get
people
that.
younger get, like, I don't think they have that.
sure they
impetus.
don't.
Yeah, probably not.
I'm sure they don't.
So was there a show that you like every week they were like, okay, Dana has this show and we'll be okay with it?
Yes, the Night Stalker.
Yes. Okay.
Because it was
Darabont.
Friday nights at 10. Nobody else was home.
Yep.
That had anything they wanted to watch, and I loved that show. I
Yeah.
saw the TV movie when it came on in January of 1972.
Yep.
I have that TV guide.
Richard Matheson, Dan Curtis.
Madison. Flip Wilson was on the cover of that.
Yes.
television.
Yep. The scariest thing in that TV guide was Flip Wilson. Yeah, come the judge. Flip Wilson. You know who never mentions Flip Wilson?
America's leading African American transvestite
Yes.
stand-up.
He's like Milton Berle, but not as scary.
Exactly.
Nobody. You could see a million things about the history of comedy in America.
Yeah,
black
that's really
comedy.
funny.
Nobody mentions Flip.
Nobody
Wilson.
mentions Flip Wilson.
Nope.
He was. And why was he just? He was like the Black David Brenner. Like
I
he just,
guess
he
was
didn't
probably
do anything.
He was probably more like the Black John Davidson,
yeah.
but he had no edge. I think he was just like
He was. It was nice.
Yeah, he didn't really
Safe.
register as doing anything.
Yeah, but he put
different.
George Carlin on television in
True.
the early '70s when Carlin couldn't get on television. 'Cause
Right.
He had just started to let his freak flag fly.
He went hippie.
He went hippie. Yeah. But yeah, I would watch the Night Stalker. I watched the Night Stalker in '72, and then the Night Strangler in 1973, and then the TV series premiered in 1974. The same year the Planet of the Apes TV series premiered, and they both only went 13 episodes.
Right.
But story editor on the Night Stalker, it was his first job, David Chase.
Really?
Yeah. And for a long time, my wife was an executive at HBO. And we were going to the Emmys or something and walking in with David Chase.
Yeah.
Who I'm in the same group.
Tell me about the Night Stalker, David Chase.
I just said, I have to tell you, I was thinking of you last night. I watched The Night Stalker. And he went, no. And I went, yeah, I did. I actually did watch it last night. I love it. And he was
Yeah.
like, does it hold up? Like,
Tell me.
No,
tell
it was
me.
great. It was. He just had a writer's proprietary interest.
Right.
Did it hold up? Still, they were going. It had a good cast. That was a great cast. He went right. It was to him. It wasn't like this weird artifact. Like, no, that was the thing I worked on. I'm proud of it.
Right. He didn't write the evil biker episode, though, did he? I think that's the only episode that I would say doesn't hold up that well.
Yeah,
that kills old people, right? Isn't that Phil Silver's last role?
No, that was the Rakshasa.
Oh, yes,
which
yeah.
was the Indian monster that appeared as someone you love.
Yes, I had Sandra Curry on the show, and she's in the episode with Eric Estrada being
the Indian
the Aztec mummy thing.
yeah.
Yeah, she's like one of his harem girls, and I detailed the whole plot to her, and she's like, "Why do you remember this?" And
Yeah,
I'm like, that's the Night Stalker. It's an Aztec mummy. What are you talking about?
I totally. My friend Rob Cohen, who I've known for years, we were writers together on the Ben Stiller show,
Yep.
and we've been friends ever since. We went to like a celebrity convention, and we met Linda Harrison,
nice.
who was Nova in Planet of the Apes, and could you please sign mine in your dreams? And then Rob said, could you please sign mine? Yeah, you wish. And she was like, you boys have very low self-esteem.
But I'll do it. I'll do it.
Yeah, she did it.
Did you ever meet Darren McGavin? I'd be terrified.
I never
to meet
met
him.
Darren McGavin, but I have a very strange Darren McGavin story. I and a lot of people who follow my sort of podcast life know this, so I don't want to repeat myself too. I was very good friends with Vampira.
Yeah, Mira.
Mila Nurmi,
who grew up in Gloucester.
who's from Gloucester,
Right, yeah.
not Finland.
Right.
She's from Gloucester.
Yes.
How did you know that? That's
I
interesting.
am a big fan of hers. In Gloucester's
Okay.
weird.
That's the big dirty secret about Mila. She's
Yeah.
not from Finland. She's from Gloucester.
And who are the two gay?
Because I have her birth certificate.
Yeah, reverse it. There was two gay twin brothers who did stuff with Roberta Finley. They made a bunch of those roughies in New York.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
from Gloucester as well. It was like a really from the same era.
Very strange.
Really weird.
But Mila and I became friends in 1995, and I basically was her very close friend until the end of her life. It's funny. I met her because of the movie Ed Wood.
Right.
And then she and I ended up recreating the movie Ed Wood. I basically became to Mila what Ed Wood was to be able to go see.
She's your menagerie.
I
Yeah.
got those phone calls at midnight. There's a raccoon. I'm
Yeah.
scared. I was like, okay,
I
I'm
need
coming.
toilet paper.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. She's a lovely person and very, very funny to her last day. Long story longer, she passes on. I want to bury her in Hollywood Forever Cemetery.
Yep.
She deserves it. You know, she was like, just throw me in the street.
Right.
Like,
Let
so
the
you-
rats
yeah,
get
so
me.
you want to be cremated? I didn't say that.
Yeah. 3 words, cheap pine box.
Yeah, she did not care, but I wanted her to have a nice, interment.
Yep.
And so she's interred at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery, and there are X amount of lots that are available.
Yeah.
And I, out of a little joke, buried her right in front of Darren McGavin.
Oh, nice.
So the Night Stalker is hot on Vampira's heels.
It makes
through
sense.
all eternity.
And that's just for you.
That's just for people who see it.
Yeah.
But and if you go to the Hollywood Forever Cemetery, you have to look for Darren McGavin, because by the time it came time to get the headstone, Mila's family had surfaced, and they found the cheapest headstone they could buy.
Nice. Yeah. At least they got a headstone.
Yeah, it's true.
Because she was the horror host.
So you have to
thing.
look for Darren, and
Yes,
you can
and then
find
you'll know
Mila.
she's there. She was like a national phenomenon, but
Yes.
only like 15 minutes of footage exists of her
Yeah,
show.
only 15 minutes of footage exists, and she was of the show, and she not even 15.
Yeah.
4.
Right.
And
But she was in- was it
she
Life
had
magazine
she was
or
Life
Time?
TV Guide,
Yeah.
Newsweek, Time, and this was also 1954, which was not the 50s yet. It was
Right.
it was still the 40s.
Yeah.
and she was very outre for that era.
Yeah.
and very outre, and national attention, and then had her life was not kind.
Yeah. That's the
yeah.
Hollywood story for those
Yeah.
people. But had you read about her in like Famous Monsters?
Yeah,
Like,
I knew who she was. And
everyone knows-
my mother remembered her, and
Yeah.
I think, before the 80s, with the Golden Turkey Awards,
Yeah.
Plan 9 from Outer Space didn't have vaulted kitsch appeal.
No.
It was just a bad movie that would be on, and I'm sure I saw it, or it aired, and people knew Vampira from that, and people who were alive in the 50s knew her.
And I
from-
remember Tor
she was also in the
Johnson.
Red Skeleton show, and all that stuff. And so my mother would reference Vampira when I was a kid, so I was aware of it. And then it wasn't until the Medved book that Plan 9 became like Plan 9.
The only good thing the Medveds did,
Yeah.
before they became very right-wing awful people.
Yes, I agreed. Was they anointed Ed Wood
The worst director of all time.
Yeah,
Yep.
which I would say Michael Bay maybe.
Yeah, because there are definitely people who I can't even watch their
I mean,
movies.
this is absolutely true. Plan 9 from Outer Space is by far not the worst movie of all time.
No, and it's not even the worst Ed Wood movie.
No, it's not the worst
Yeah.
movie, and it's the main crime a movie can commit is being boring.
Yeah, like Orgy of the Dead.
or Showgirls.
Yeah, that's true. If you're boring with that much nudity, you're
Yeah.
doing something wrong.
Yeah, it's Plan 9 is never boring, and it's
Yeah.
always bad in a new way.
Yeah.
And just when you think they've run out of tricks, Dudley
Yeah,
Manlove.
it surprises you. Yeah, I mean,
Just when they think they've run out of tricks, Eros.
stupid.
Stupid.
I have a great Criswell shirt that I just got.
Oh, I have. I think it's the same one.
Yeah,
with purple lettering
yes,
down the front.
exactly.
I have the
Yes,
same
your
thing.
next 10 years.
Yeah.
I love the fact that I had cable. Luckily, we stole it, but I had it, and I got to see in the early '80s and mid '80s all of those specials that came in the wake of
Right.
The Medveds book, and we got Jonathan Ross's TV show,
Right,
Incredibly
which was
Strange Film
great.
Show.
Yes, and he had a great Ed Wood episode of
Amazing.
Incredibly Strange
And
Films. Dorothy
Discovery
Wolf's.
Channel aired it, which was
Yes.
Russ Meyer episodes.
Yep.
And then
That was a great show.
Oh, it was fantastic.
Yeah.
And he really the big names, but then you got like Ted V. Michaels and people that I never Doris Wishman, people I
Yep.
never would have heard of if not for that
And those
show.
are really well done, well researched.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They're British documentary
Yeah.
shows that are like
They're
very
brilliant.
respectful.
Yeah.
Jonathan Ross is a weird one because he started as like a B.
He was the
movie
British-
enthusiast.
But he was sort of like the British David Letterman for a while.
Yeah. And now he's the most mainstream of mainstream ever there.
Oh
Like,
yeah, yeah. Is he just like Dana Hersey, the Dana Hersey of London?
Basically, yeah. He's that pop. He's not that popular, but
I didn't know the Jules Holland show was still on after
yeah.
all these years.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that
was
show.
amazing.
I lived over there for a while, and just most of the time I just watched TV.
Yeah.
I was like, I can watch it here, and the PAL conversion doesn't look weird.
Yeah, I didn't know. Of course, I was in San Francisco. I walked into a bar and Jules Holland was on.
Yeah.
The show's, and it was current acts. It's like,
Yeah,
is
he's
this show
still doing
on?
this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was when did you move out to LA? Like 85 or 86 or something?
No, I moved to San Francisco in '86.
Okay.
and then I lived there 87, And I moved there end of 86, October of 86.
That was the big Boston exodus when like Paula Poundstone went. And
No, they went
Bobcat?
before me.
Okay.
I was a Bobcat went in 85.
Okay.
Tom Kenny, Dan Spencer, and Paul Kozlowski moved out in 85. I followed them in the end of 86. Lived in San Francisco 87, 88. Moved to LA in 89.
Right. Because the first time I remember seeing you on TV, I think was something shot at Harvard with like Joe Piscopo hosting or something.
Yes.
Was that
Wow,
it?
you saw that?
Oh yeah. Was that HBO or show? HBO,
It was
right?
HBO. It was 1983.
Yeah, college comedy. Or
I had
something?
been doing stand-up 9 months. I was 18 years old.
That was the 1st
I'm
time.
terrified that exists.
Really, it's not bad. It's not bad. And then I saw
Speak
you
for
on
yourself, pal.
Comic Strip Live's alternative comedy showcase with Chance Langston. Chance Langston and you were both on it.
I don't remember
That would have been like 1990 or something, or 89
Bill
or 90.
Boggs, Comedy Tonight.
Yes,
I did a lot
one
of
those
crap.
things. But you obviously have this love for horror stuff.
Yeah, totally. More than comedy.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, how I can't think of much of that you've done. Would you want to do horror?
Yeah,
stuff?
no, well, it's funny, yes, and I'm oddly doing it now. I did. I mean, it was always my love. It was always my love, and it was my love, and then my work is my work, and I
Right.
was, and I never thought to do stuff about it because it was just, this is what I love to do.
Yeah.
And then, with my podcast, around in the 90s, I hosted the Big Scary Movie Show, which was my attempt to do it in the Incredibly Strange Film Show. That's how I met Mila Nurmi. And just started to, where I could, incorporate that stuff. But for whatever reason, and I really don't have an explanation, now is when I'm doing more of it than I ever have. I'm in a horror film that just came out called Tales of Halloween.
Yes, I saw that.
I'm in another horror film that comes out in February called Southbound. My pilot at IFC is a horror series.
Okay.
Called Stand Against Evil, and it's basically what if my dad was Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I already love this.
In the tone of Ash versus Evil Dead. Although
Right.
I didn't know Ash versus Evil Dead. It was a thing that was coming up.
Yeah.
And we're writing the scripts for that. Now, IFC has a different business model. We're writing the scripts, and then they pick up the show.
Right.
But I'm getting paid.
But could be Night Stalker. I'm picturing like a Boston Darren McGavin.
It's what if Gillian Anderson's partner was Carol O'Connor from All in the Family.
I already love this.
And
Yeah.
KNB Effects, I'm playing my father in makeup. KNB Effects is doing the makeup. Greg
Yep.
Nicotero is directing the first episode.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's one of my closest friends. We've been friends for 25 years.
And did you meet him just through like loving horror stuff?
Yeah, I met him through his cousin Frank as a comedian, and we were working
Oh, I didn't
together.
even know that.
Yeah, we were working together in like the 90s, and he was like, "You're really gonna meet my cousin Greg." And when I went
Greg
out,
Nicotero?
no, I didn't know who he was at the
Okay,
time. This
yeah.
was like literally like, mid 90s.
So you weren't a rabid Fangoria reader?
I wasn't a
Like,
Fangoria
yeah.
reader. I was a Famous Monsters
Right.
reader, and so I didn't really, and like I was aware of the company name, but I didn't know him. And I went out and I toured the shop, and I met him, and we just became really good friends, and have been ever since. I talked to him 2 days ago.
Yeah, I mean that's gotta.
And
be,
now he's The Walking Dead. Now
yeah,
he's huge.
which is crazy. I mean I think what I was going to mention too is when you're saying now you're doing all this stuff,
Yeah.
which is weird. I think society has changed.
Yeah.
I mean it's very weird. We were talking before we started recording. I went to a convention last week, and I've been going to conventions for 30 years.
Yeah, me too, yeah.
And they're so different now.
Yeah, what'd you go to?
I went to Rhode Island Comic Con, and but we had monthly comic conventions here, and I used to go through the combat zone, and it was
Yeah.
a bad part of town.
Yeah.
And I would go to buy comics. I'd be the only kid there.
Right.
And now there's all kinds of families and all the.
It's all very
pop
main
culture.
Well,
it's crazy.
This San Diego Comic Con
Yeah.
is now like the coronation of the
Right.
Queen.
But part of that too is because I think what was it
They drove the nerds out of
Yeah,
Comic-Con.
because-
Comic-Con now is where you go to meet people who used to make fun of you for going to Comic-Con.
Exactly. That's the weirdest thing. I'm like, the true nerds now are like people into sports statistics.
Yeah.
Those
it's
are the
true,
nerds.
yeah.
But because San Diego was about comics, and then what was it? The video, it was basically like Video Con that used to be in Vegas every year ended. And as soon as that ended, they took over
Yeah.
San Diego as like here's our previewing what's coming out.
It's also strange. You talk about I was visiting my parents today out by Natick, sort of like where I grew up. And my sister and my nephew, who are both adults, all they were talking about was The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Do you think Glenn is dead? And I'm like, This is my thing.
Oh, yeah.
You used to make fun of me for liking this stuff. What are you talking about?
I went on a trek. This was the closest thing I ever had to a religious experience to the Monroeville Mall.
Okay, wow.
I was like, I gotta go, and everyone made fun of me for it.
Yeah,
and this
I
was
see.
like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
But it was the most amazing.
in Pennsylvania.
thing. Yeah, it's right outside Pittsburgh.
Right.
And it was so bizarre because I've seen that movie maybe 100 times, Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah.
And I knew exactly where everything
I had the
was.
same image when I think of Dawn of the Dead. Two images. One, the fat, shirtless guy
Bumping.
falling into the... Yeah, but it's like, it's firmer than you'd think it would
Oh,
be.
yeah.
Like that's the first one I realized. Fat's hard.
Yeah, he's like the kingpin.
And then there was a nun.
Yes. Yeah. The nun zombie who she feels bad for. She's kind of looking at her.
Right, but it also says because there's no more room in hell.
Right.
When there's no more room in hell, the devil walked the earth.
Voodoo.
And yet there's a nun. And I believe it was Day of the Dead the third one?
Yes, that Greg Nicotero worked on.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
Greg worked on Dawn of the Dead.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah, he was a kid. He worked on Dawn of the Dead. It was his first gig.
Yeah. 85's Day.
I know that NRBQ is in one of them.
Yes, they're in Day. They drove down from a gig in Cleveland to be in that one and get in the makeup.
Yeah,
and they
that's right.
like no one else wanted to do it. Yeah, they filmed that in salt mines.
That's why I love it. And then they did Land of the Dead.
Which I thought was decent, and I wasn't huge into Diary or the one with the weird Irish island. Have you seen that one?
No, I haven't seen that one.
That one, it's like,
I haven't seen that one.
But I mean,
But I remember talking to Greg when they were shooting Land of the Dead in Toronto in January. I was like, we have to come back in the spring because it's too cold. None of the blood gags work. Like the blood was just freezing.
just
when they
frozen
popped it.
solid.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, you have like Asia Argento, and which I was
Yeah.
like, very excited about.
Yeah.
I mean, I was lucky enough to grow up.
And a rare appearance dressed.
Yes, dressed in not being directed under a sexual assault by her father on a television.
I can't.
I met a guy who was in the movie. What was the movie? Trauma.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And I was talking to him about what it's like to be directed by Dario Argento. 'Cause
Yeah.
I'm just really curious what that guy's direction's like.
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah, he's a weird dude, man. And I'm like, well, I assume that. Like, give
Yeah.
me some more detail. He goes, he had this scene where he goes, and I think Asia was like, she's a teenager in it. They don't have a relationship. He goes, in this scene, when I say action, act like you just raped my daughter. And he's like, what are you talking about? That's not, there's nothing to do. And he's like, no, that's how you act the scene. And he's like, I don't. And it's like a scene where he's like saving her from, I was like, he is a weird dude. I guess you were correct with that there.
He's a strange agent.
Yeah. I mean, I was lucky enough to grow up in the video store era, so I
Right.
didn't quite have to use TV Guide, but I did have to take like 3 buses and a train to rent a Racerhead from a video store in Brookline that had it.
Yeah. I was having made a couple of horror movies, and I've been directed by Frank Darabont and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, because was that the
Mob City.
the Mob City thing?
Yeah,
right?
having done all that, they were all lovely. And
Yeah.
it's always like a commercial director are always the biggest psychopaths.
Yeah.
It's always the guy trying to get Cool Whip to look moist. It's like Frank Darabont's filming a shootout, and it was like, how you doing?
Yeah, you guys all right down there?
This is just how much I love Frank Darabont. We were shooting on a roof. There's like you travel out in the middle of nowhere in LA, and there's a fake city.
Yeah.
That on the Disney ranch that they built. There's like it's like a 2-scale fake city.
That just makes you think of The Village from The Prisoner or something.
Yeah, it's
Like you could get
exactly
someone
like
to-
The
yeah.
Village. It's exactly like The Village. And we shot a lot of Mob City out there, and we were up on a roof doing a thing on a roof, and it's hot, and we're up on a roof. And
In the desert.
in the middle of nowhere, in the
Yeah.
middle of the San Gabriel Valley, and Frank, who knows me through Greg, and
Yeah.
we're both monster guys, like just comes up and he puts his hands on my shoulder and he goes, "Oh, I just saw the Criterion Bride of Frankenstein. It's not black and white; it's black and silver. That's why it was called the silver screen." And goes and does something else. But it's just like
You're like,
it's like,
I'm motivated for the day now.
but it's also like, yeah, these are guys. They like the same stuff that I like,
Yeah.
and we're here making this thing because it's really cool. And then you go to a guy that's like shooting a commercial for the Whopper, and it's like,
Yeah.
my vision.
Yeah.
There's
I need to
always-
take the Whopper into a whole
Yeah,
new...
exactly.
It's the 21st century, man.
Greg told me a story that when they were doing the Green Mile, Stephen King came out and like Stephen King is given, it's like the first shot of the Green Mile and Tom Hanks is there.
Oh, yeah.
And this is his big follow-up. This is and now Stephen King is going to give like a speech to start us off, and he just goes, "Boy, this is great, and it looks so real, and I hope it wins all the awards and everything." Cuts the cake.
Yeah, Maine.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
Maine. He's just like so like it's. That's what I love about. Those are the people that I like to be with. Those are the people I like to spend time with. Southbound, we shot for $1.50 in the Joshua Tree. All night long in the desert.
Yeah, but you're happy to be there.
I was euphoric. We had so much fun.
Do you think some of that's New England? I mean, I don't know.
Yes, it's very working class. It's very working class.
And then I feel like all the American horror originates from here.
It does.
Because you have King or H.P. Lovecraft or like whatever sort of,
And it's not just horror too. Like Mike Scully, who ran The Simpsons when I was there, was from Springfield. No pun intended.
Springfield, Mass.
Ironically.
Yeah.
Only
same attitude.
Pull
the gun on me.
Same attitude. But same attitude. You know, just like this. So we're here to have fun. We're here to work, do your job, do it well, but don't take yourself too seriously.
Right. And we're lucky that this is a great thing we get to do. We're not
exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. People there know people that have real jobs.
Right. And I think that's probably those of us who do anything creative from New England, that's a bonus. And
we know people that have real jobs.
Injured. Yeah, because there's also...
And same with like people from Pittsburgh, like all those guys, like
those sort of
all those
class
effects guys, Nicotero and Savini and all those people.
Yeah, although Savini seems like a maniac from what I've talked to him.
Well,
nice guy, but a little...
He was born, not made.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he was forged. I am Tom Savini.
Tell me about Vampirates again.
Yes. Oh, Savini. I'm terrified of that man. I've seen him many times at conventions and things, and he's just so intense.
Yeah.
He's an intense man.
Yeah.
When you...
You don't need to be.
No. Yeah, exactly.
Greg Hardberger, not intense, real fun.
Yes, exactly. It's like,
go to lunch, have a sandwich, laugh.
We don't need.
Talk
it's
about
not Vietnam anymore. It's not,
you're not in the
it ended many years ago.
You're not in the shit.
Yes, yeah. I always feel like if you could see through Tom Savini's eyes, it would just be Jacob's Ladder nonstop.
Yeah, it's
like,
just a fisheye lens and calliope music.
Yeah. Everyone's Elizabeth Pena.
Yeah, exactly.
That actually doesn't sound too bad.
Yeah,
I'm
that
thinking
would be a
about
good
it.
place
Yeah.
to be.
But when you were working at The Simpsons, I always attributed all the stuff we've been talking about that would be referenced there.
A lot of it is me.
I mean, the Vincent Price, Apple,
a lot of that is
Dr.
me.
Zaius.
Although I have to say, well, I did not write Planet of the Apes and
Right.
Planet of the Apes and musical I did write for the Ben Stiller show.
Right.
We never made it. It made its way to The Simpsons, not by me.
Right.
And then I did do Ben Stiller show. I wrote two things that were going to be in the mythical 14th episode that was never filmed, Planet of the Apes the musical, and then the second joke. I don't even know if this was going to be in the episode. I don't think it was actually. It got rejected, but I did write it. Was Hal Holbrook is Dr. Zaius as Mark Twain.
Yeah, I love that.
And we didn't make it. So flash forward 20 years or whatever, and John Hodgman has on his Tumblr a picture of James Whitmore from Planet of the Apes reading the biography of Mark Twain. And he was like, I want somebody on the internet to put a photo up of Dr. Zaius as Mark Twain. And then we were talking about something else. I go, that's so funny that you say that. That was a sketch I wrote for the Ben Stiller show years ago. And he's like, would you do it for me? I'm at Sketchfest next week or next month. And my first reaction was, no, I can't. And then I thought, no, wait, yeah, I can.
Why can't I do that?
My best friend is an Oscar award-winning makeup artist. Hang on, let me make
We have a whole week? No problem.
Yeah, so literally, it was just one of those things, like you don't realize the resources that you have. I called Greg, and I went, hey, do you have anybody over there that can put me in Dr. Zaius makeup? It's got to be in San Francisco, so I'll fly him up and I'll put him up. And it was literally, hang on. Hey, Andy, you want to go to San Francisco do a Zaius King on Dana? Yeah, I don't know, next week. Yeah. Yes.
Done. That's it.
It was literally, that was the time it took. It was like literally, and I called, yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And
That's
it's
amazing.
on the internet. You can see it on YouTube.
Well,
Dana Gould, Dr. Zaius, you'll find it. It's really funny.
Did you do the Willfred Brimley sketches on
Yeah, that was me.
I loved those.
Oh, those
I
were great.
loved
Grady's Oats.
those. Yeah.
Grady's Oats.
Because my favorite, I remember before I saw those when they were on, I saw an interview with Willfred Brimley about The Thing. Have you ever heard this interview with him?
No, but I have a creepy Willfred Brimley story, so please do tell.
So there's the scene where he's the Thing. Sorry, everybody, for ruining it. And he's tearing that guy's face off, and he has this really intense, cold look on his face.
Yeah.
And a reporter asked him, they're like, what were you motivating you in that scene? What were you thinking about? And he goes, completely dead, and he goes, picking up my laundry. And so that made me go, Willfred Brimley's the craziest man on earth.
He is the craziest man on earth. And this is a Kurt Russell told me.
Excellent.
You don't get to say that a lot. No, like he Willfred Brimley's like a hardcore right wing.
Oh,
dude.
yeah.
Like he's in this thing called
cowboy.
Yeah, he's a cowboy. He's in this thing called the Utah Brigade, where if somebody in Utah gets a death sentence and they choose to be shot by firing squad, Willfred Brimley's name is in the hat.
Oh my God!
Yeah, like just in case it happens.
I got my gun in my car gassed up.
So I do those Willfred Brimley things on Stiller.
Yeah.
And 3 or 4 years later, we're on the same episode of Seinfeld.
Oh.
And I'm like, I hope he never saw it.
And if someone's gonna kick my ass about something,
but I was unrecognizable, fortunately, and then I did meet him, and all I got was Will Brimley.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he was fine. But I just remember, I'd like to come inside. I'm much better now.
Yeah.
Talking through the noose.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's terrifying.
I'm much better now. That movie, basically timeless.
Yeah.
The only thing that dates that movie is the chess computer game.
Yes, exactly.
It's the only thing that dates it.
And the
VHS of Let's Make a Deal.
TK Carter's roller skates are a little. I'm also starting a band called TK Carter's Roller Skates now. I think that's going to be
you should.
Yeah. I love it. The other thing about Kurt Russell from Maine as well.
Oh, is he from Maine? I did not know that.
He grew up in Maine and then got a professional baseball contract.
Yeah, he's an amazing dude. Again, my ex-wife, with whom I am very close.
Yeah,
we share 3 children and a lot of common interests, and we're very good friends. We had dinner at this big Hollywood shishi thing with, among other people, Kurt and Russell and Goldie Hawn. And I was sitting next to Kurt Russell, and I was telling him I'm a comedian, and I have this one thing about a dog something that happens to a dog. I don't even remember what the bit was, but I said at one point, I just say, somebody go get McCready. And I go, inevitably, like 2 or 3 people laugh. It could be like 500 people, but like 1 or 2 people will laugh really hard. And he thought that was the funniest thing he'd ever heard.
Yeah, I bet. And he's got that great Kurt Russell laugh.
Yeah, he was great. He's just a great
Have you ever
guy.
heard his Walt Disney story?
No.
So
he was also Ted Nugent's best man in this wedding.
Oh, well, there you go. That's terrifying.
Yeah. What's the Disney story?
So he was in all these Disney movies.
Yeah, he was the computer wore tennis shoes.
Disney's, when they found Disney dead, he had a piece of paper with him with Kurt Russell's name on it. There was the last thing he wrote.
Oh my God.
And they called Kurt Russell and they were like, do you know what this is about? He's like, I don't know, 18 or something. Yeah. And he's like, no. And they're like, well, your name's the last thing he wrote before he died.
Oh my God.
Which is like kind of flattering, but also terrifying.
I must kill.
Yeah. Kill Kurt Russell. If you find me dead, Kurt Russell did it.
Yeah, that might have been it.
You're the only person I know that's met someone who's been in an Elvis movie.
Yeah. I might have been.
Unless you've met Anne Margaret, which I don't know.
No, I think I've seen her in real life. But I've never met her.
52 pickup Anne Margaret. Terrifying.
Yeah. We're talking Viva Las Vegas.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Hell yeah.
I must have met somebody else that was in an Elvis movie, but yeah, I did meet. Is he in Speedway? Is it in
Speedway? Yep. Did you ever meet the Hulk? Oh my God, the guy.
Lou Ferrigno?
No, Bruce Banner, David Banner. I met Lou.
Oh, Bill Bixby.
Bill Bixby, yeah.
I never met Bill
he was a villain in a couple of those.
Yeah, he's in Clam. He is in Clam Bake.
Yes,
he's
gonna have a clam bake.
The best movie ever about a clam bake.
Yeah. Also, Elvis, the only man who has 2 songs about clams. Do the Clam,
written by.
Clam Bake.
Do the Clam, written by.
Who wrote
Dolores Fuller?
Oh yes, she did. Yes.
Yeah.
From Ed Wood.
Yeah.
Grab your barefoot baby by the hand. Do the Clam, which sounds like a really perverse song.
Yeah, I did a big thing about clam bake on my podcast because I'm fascinated that so many resources went into a movie about a clam bake, and that movie came out in '67, just at the height of like the Beatles are finishing Sgt. Pepper, and he's doing clam bake, gonna have a clam bake.
My favorite Elvis movie of all time. Change of Habit.
Yeah, well, that was '69. That was like when he grew
Undercover
up the
Nuns.
What?
Undercover Nuns.
Yeah, Undercover
That's the
Nuns.
plot.
Yep.
Elvis curing autism with tickling.
I didn't know that.
He's an inner city doctor who specializes in autistic kids, and there's this girl who's autistic, and he holds her and he's just tickling her, going, "Come on, get better, and then she's fine."
All right, I have to see that.
Oh man, he kung fu's a guy who's trying to rape Mary Tyler Moore.
Yeah, I know that. I know Mary
crazy.
Tyler Moore's
The
in
movie's
it.
completely insane. Good songs too.
I get it. Okay, Change of Habit.
Change of Habit's really good. So I know you're on a time crunch here, but
I wish I wasn't.
I know. Well, we'll have to do a part 2.
And it's so funny because I want to sing a Change of Habit like Return to Sender. A change of habit.
What you need, and that's what Little Less Conversation comes from.
Which
that
is an
movie.
amazing song.
Really good song.
Yeah.
My favorite Elvis songwriter, Hoyt Axton.
What did he write? I know who he is.
Hoyt Axton wrote Not Viva Las Vegas. He wrote In the Ghetto, I want to say.
Oh, that's an amazing song.
For people that don't know, Hoyt Axton was the dad in Gremlins.
Yeah. And a
great voice.
big country western singer, too.
And the voice of Peach adverts in the 80s.
Yep.
Peaches. Hoyt Axton.
There's that. And I also love That's the Way It Is.
Yes. Yeah.
It's an amazing documentary.
I have about 9 hours of Elvis documentary footage cut from that movie.
Oh,
And
really?
I don't know if you've ever seen the moon landing incident footage.
No.
So it's the day after the moon landing, and he's in with the Memphis Mafia.
I don't know if you know I didn't know. Do you know April Richardson, the comedian?
Yes. Yeah.
She will go toe to toe with you on Elvis.
Okay. Yeah. I really enjoy April's stuff. I like her podcast.
She's
Saved
great.
by the Bell.
Yeah.
So they're in the back of this
Go
limo,
Bayside.
and they're like, "Hey, E, did you see the moon landing last night?" And he goes, "No, man, I was buried in a beaver." And so they're like, "You can't say that." E. And he goes, "No, man, they're not using any sound." It's one of my favorite things I've ever seen in my life. It is fantastic.
Well, there's also there's a clip where he goes, "Man, I was over last night. You raised the dead."
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then I love. I remember watching.
buried in a beaver.
I was buried in a beaver.
You missed the moon landing?
Yeah, because he was
You get
buried in a
laid?
beaver.
How often do you? Is it a rare occasion when you get laid?
He goes, it never happens, man. Moon landing will happen probably 4 or 5 more times. Have you ever heard the Little Richard Sputnik story? No. Oh,
I don't know any of this.
I was watching this documentary about Australian musicians or something, and in the 60s, Australia had this big rockabilly revival. So all these 50s acts were going over there and playing these huge things.
Sure.
So in Australians are just like, whatever.
Yeah, right, yeah.
So these Australian guys have Little Richard on a boat, and Sputnik flies over. He takes all his jewelry off, which took like 20 minutes,
Yeah.
throws it in the water, and goes, "We're all gonna die!" And jumped into the water, and this big Australian dude goes, "We all went in after the jewelry." And they're just like, let Little Richard down.
I have a weird. I feel bad for Little Richard in this regard. Every performer has a voice in their head that says that you're not good enough.
Yeah.
It's what drives you on.
Yeah.
Little Richard has that voice, but it's in Little Richard's voice. They're like, you ain't good enough. Woo!
Yeah.
If I was you, I'd just stay home and watch TV under a blanket.
There's footage of him where he's talking about his perversions in the 70s.
Oh, no.
And he goes, "I used to like a paid a girl to eat my titties." I'm like, I could just listen to this man talk forever about anything. And then this is
I do know a story about I found Jesus and I took off all my jewelry and I
Yes.
threw it in the river and I said, take me, Jesus, take me, Jesus. Oh, I wish I knew where that river led out today.
It'd be funny if it was like, then I found out Jesus was Sputnik. He's a spaceman. Chance of the gods is real.
Ross Serling will tell you all how the pyramids
He
is
knew
made.
everything. My favorite thing is I have footage from the MTV premiere of Pretty in Pink. This is 1986.
Who doesn't have that
Everyone
footage?
has that. One of my other odd hobbies is I collect VHS tapes of TV broadcasts and digitize them, and I have probably 10,000
wow.
hours of stuff.
Molly Ringwald, lovely person.
You worked on Townies, right?
I worked on Townies, and
I
I
love
was
that
at
show.
I was at a party with her only recently.
Okay.
And she is a delight.
Yeah,
You'd think she would be snooty just to
because it's Molly Ringwald.
could not be nicer.
Really, so if Townies is one of my favorite shows from the 90s.
huge
I loved
cast
that show.
on that show.
The show. I mean, Bill Burr, Ron
Bill Burr,
Livingston.
Ron Livingston, Molly Ringwald, Jenna Elfman, chick from Gilmore Girls.
Yeah, I mean, amazing show. And
everybody went on to something.
Really funny. My wife and I watch the Thanksgiving episode every year. It's maybe our favorite Thanksgiving special, where it ends where she's like, "I'm gonna write a bad check for pizza," and when people ask you what the worst Thanksgiving you ever had is, it's this. But that was, one of the last really great blue collar sitcoms I can think of.
Was,
I loved that show.
Yeah, and And yeah, it was really run by Linwood Boomer, who went on to create Malcolm in the Middle.
Yeah, a great show, and it was only 12 episodes, I think, or 13 episodes. I think only 12 aired.
Yeah.
But so it's the Pretty in Pink premiere. They're interviewing. It's Little Richard, and then Eddie Murphy's next to him for no reason. They're not together. They're just. And Little Richard goes, "I love Molly Ringwald. She is like some kind of princess of our times. I invented everything." Like he's just going on this whole rant, and then they cut to Eddie Murphy, and he goes, "I don't know." Like it's just everyone's baffled, and they just let him go, and it's
I invented everything.
Everything is mine. My dad used to get Playboy. And I literally used to go into his chest and read the articles. And there's John Waters wrote a 10-page interview with Little Richard in a 1985 issue of Playboy, and it's one of my favorite things I ever read.
I have to get that.
It's really good.
I have to get that.
Little Richard has a quote that says, "I invented gay."
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's really good.
I gotta write
yeah,
that down.
go for it. It's really good because John Waters basically talks how if Little Richard's what gave him his idea for everything, like his mustache, his whole look, everything. And it was the first time he met him, and it's fantastic. And then, are you familiar with Escarita?
Yes.
I love that guy too.
Yeah.
So what I was going to ask you to sort of wrap up, because I know
and
you
the Little Richard story about Paul McCartney, I tutored him.
Yes.
I tutored Paul McCartney. I would sit on my lap and call, you go, woo, and Paul would go,
I presume you've seen Hail Hail Rock and Roll?
yes.
I mean, Chuck Berry's the craziest person ever, but
Yeah.
on the DVD, which has like 4 DVDs of deleted scenes,
Yeah.
it's Little Richard talking to Chuck Berry and Bo Diddley. And Bo Diddley's a totally normal dude. And Little Richard goes,
I don't know.
"People come in, they see you, they go, 'Look at that big greasy black man.'" and Bo Diddley's just like, "Sure, okay." And it's just, it's fantastic. It's fantastic. I love it. But what we haven't really discussed is Little Richard needs a podcast. I think
Yeah,
that's
once
what,
you get out, there's no
You can't
coming
stop.
back off of that.
How's he still alive?
He's like a skunk. There's nothing more Little Richard than Little Richard.
No, and only tomato juice will get rid of him. Oh, not tomato juice! I cannot deal
That's
with
the
it.
only thing to take out my stink.
Eat my
I
titties.
invented Charlie's Angels.
Yeah, I invented titties.
Before I came in, it was a show called Charlie's Hammers. It was a guy about 3 hammers, and they sat around and did nothing all day. And I said, make them foxy ladies. And then it was Charlie's Angels. Woo!
I went to Japan and I pitched a show called Rape by Charlie's Angels. It was the #1 program for children.
Children love to be raped by a Farrah Fawcett.
I saw a Japanese game show where the goal was to make a little girl cry without touching her in a certain time frame. They would just say whatever you want.
Drop enough atomic bombs on a culture, and you'll get some funky
Yes.
results.
Oh, you certainly will.
If we knew that we would get Gamera out of this, we'd have never done it.
Yeah, it's true. Did you watch any comedy? I mean, it's all horror stuff. When you were growing up, were there comedies that was spoke to you?
of course, yeah. Well, I was a ginormous from 72. Like I loved George Carlin.
Okay.
And here's the strange thing about why I love George Carlin. As a child,
Yeah.
I grew up in a very rambunctious household. It was very loud, very aggressive, working class.
Irish New England.
New England Irish,
Yep.
yeah. George Carlin in the 70s had an almost Mr. Rogers-like temperament.
Yeah.
He was stoned and a hippie, but he was very beatific. He was very like happy and easy,
Yeah.
and he just seemed to be like he's nice.
Which I think you're
Which it's the opposite of how people think of him in his latter life.
true, although Thomas the Tank Engine.
Yes,
I mean, that's the George Carlin you were seeing then.
yes, and it's odd. I was very, very, very fortunate in that I got to know him and befriend him, and that is him. He was a lovely human
Yeah,
being.
I've heard nothing but great stories.
As funny as he was a nicer man than he was funny. He was just the best.
Yeah.
I can't say enough good about him, but yeah, I wanted, and then I was with Saturday Night Live when it first started.
Yep.
Because I had older brothers, like I was watching cooler stuff than other 12-year-old kids were.
Right.
Like I literally watched the first season of Saturday Night Live when I was 12.
The Muppet season.
The Muppet season,
Yeah.
and the Michael O'Donoghue season, yeah.
Yep.
And
I have a signed O'Donoghue, Mr. Mike's Mondo video poster.
sure, the Jack Lord.
Yep.
Yeah, and So yeah, I was into all of that stuff really early, and my mom watched the Carol Burnett show and stuff like that.
Right.
But I wanted, and then Make Me Laugh, if you remember that show.
Oh yeah, which they brought back on Comedy Central in the 90s.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah, it wasn't great,
No.
but yeah.
But I do remember all of that. Yeah, I wanted to be a stand-up.
Right. So really not. It's scripted, but not like fictional stuff. You're watching sketches and stand-up and that kind of comedy.
Yeah,
that you're
yeah. And then when I
towards.
got into high school, I got into Woody Allen movies.
Right.
I was a big Python fan.
Were you an
know,
SCTV guy?
Loved SCTV.
Yeah.
And,
See, that's my all-time favorite sketch.
Yeah, and was really into Python.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I mean, I certainly had that appreciation. I was just talking about SCTV the other night because of I was hang on, boom, boom, dropping names left and right.
My foot.
I was with Scott Alexander and Larry Karaszewski, who wrote Ed Wood and People versus Larry Flint and Big Eyes. Mm-hmm. And I was talking about, I became aware of who Phil Harris was because of IOP King $50,000.
Yeah.
How about Phil Harris?
Yeah.
We don't think that's funny. And Scott, yes, that's Phil Harris.
I learned so
Phil
much
Harris?
stuff from SCTV,
Phil Harris?
and like how Eugene Levy would always play Floyd the Barber post-stroke, which SNL would not do. That was
Yes.
like a very
Yeah.
And George Carlin, no one ever did George Carlin impressions.
Moranis did,
Rick Moranis,
Modern Relationship.
underrated vegetables, beets. It was just like nobody did that.
And the parody of Modern Romance.
Oh, yes, with George Carlin. Yeah.
That was like, who was doing
Relationship is like a ship.
trying to keep it afloat.
We see a duck. My favorite thing is he goes, "Come on, why are you standing still?" He goes, "I'm doing my bits. I got to stand still to do my bits." It's such a weird thing to do.
And then
weird. And Martin Short is, I think, one of the most underrated grotesque comedians of the last 30
Yes.
years. His stuff is horrific.
Jackie Rogers Jr.
An albino version of Sammy
I
Davis
have
Jr.?
such small hands.
Oh, did you ever see? He did a parody of like biopics. He did like sort of a Danny Kaye thing. It was a Wizard of Oz sort of pastiche called The Man in the Moon, and he plays like an anthropomorphic fence, and he gets this thing that I've never seen anyone else get about Jack Haley, which is the Boston thing, and he goes, "Oh, if I stand outside, my boards will warp," and it's like it's so perfect, and I'm like, only Martin Short,
only Martin Short would
would
get that.
notice that kind of thing.
The Martin Short, there was a Showtime special with all of them in it. And
Yeah.
we had Jackie Rogers Jr. fall into a circus train with a lion in it.
Yeah.
And the first thing, he falls down and he looks up and sees a lion, and then he looks back and he goes, "I have such small hands."
Yeah, it's such bizarre things that no other sketch show was able to do that. Like,
That was
sometimes
the
SCTV
Irving
gets
Cohen,
scared.
the Irving Cohen salute, where Joe Flaherty
yes.
is playing Charlton Heston.
Yes,
I
yeah.
salute you, Mr. Red, White,
Yes.
and Blue.
Fantastic.
Amazing.
And then I know you're a Charlton Heston fan.
Yeah, his
Omega
house
Man.
is for sale.
Oh, I saw that.
It's only
yeah.
12 million.
Did you? I presume you've watched the extras on the Omega Man DVD.
Oh, yeah, all
where
of them.
he asks about the blood testing machine. I always bring this up on the show. Can it test the passion in a man's blood? And this like phlebotomist is like, no. He's like, all right.
And in his book, I believe it's In the Arena.
Yep.
It's the first sentence in the book is, "From the second I took my first sip of my mother's womb blood."
I was a matricidal vampire.
I met Mr. Heston, and he was a delight.
Yeah, politically incorrect, right? He sent you
was
a
the best.
autograph?
Yeah, he was the best.
Yeah, I
Michael
mean,
Moore was a snotty dick.
I'm
and
not
Charlton
surprised.
Heston, I wanted to make him a casserole.
yeah, he seems, well, because he's old Hollywood, too. I
He's
think
old
he's the kind
school.
of guy who goes, if you disagree with someone, you treat them with more respect.
Yeah, but you know, I and for whatever reason, I met like a lot. I did a movie with Jack Lemmon. I'm in this
Okay.
movie, My Fellow Americans. I spent 3 days with Jack Lemmon on the set.
Oh, you mean
Again,
Chris Lemon?
I wish.
Yeah.
No, and it's like I was one of the guys.
Yeah.
And he's just like, didn't matter that I was like the waiter while he and James Garner talked.
Right.
I was there in the scene. I had a line. We're all actors. 3 days we spent shooting this endless
It's a
scene.
very old Hollywood feel.
And they were great. And he was telling stories like in Marilyn would come down and you realize he's talking about Marilyn Monroe.
which is insane.
It's
Like,
insane.
yeah.
And
yeah.
then like literally like a month later, I know exactly. I was on Robertson and Beverly in front of the Newsroom Cafe, and somebody beeps their horn, and I turn, and it's Jack Lemmon in his car, and he waves.
How you doing, Dana?
Yeah, he did. I'm sure he did not know my name, but he knew me.
Yeah.
Hello, love.
That's
crazy.
why LA is fantastic.
That's exactly.
Yeah, I mean, people. I don't know why people complain about it.
Yeah, I don't complain
It's
about it. I
pretty
love
great.
it. Yeah, I love
so
it.
I know you got to get out of here.
Yeah,
and
I
I
do have to
apologize,
drive
but
to
thank you so
beautiful
much
Somerville.
for doing this. Yeah, beautiful Somerville.
Yeah.
I lived there for 10 years. I always joke that
Apparently, it is beautiful now.
it is now. It's basically our Brooklyn now.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very strange how
Yeah.
much it's changed. Yeah,
I lived on 328 Washington Street.
Okay, yeah.
But at the time it was a toilet.
Yeah.
And now it's like,
Oh, by Somerville Lumber?
yeah, but down by some of a lumber.
Yeah.
I used to ride my bike. I rode my bike down Washington Street and would go to work at the Coop.
And
then go do open mics at night.
A friend of mine told me he was living in
And I was happy.
and I loved it.
Because I had grandchildren.
Somerville. I live in Somerville for 10 years, and I have so many stories of violence purported in the
yeah,
street.
it's a terrible place.
Yeah,
Oh,
it really
thank you
is.
very
Well, I'll let you get out of here so you can go win your Comedian of the Year award.
Please.
Well
The less said
deserved.
about that, the better.
That's fantastic. And thank you so much
First
for
time
doing
in my
this.
life I got a trophy for not being dead. Yes.
Well, do people get trophies for being dead?
Let's hope. They do in Dana Gould's America.
I give out my best death award every year. McGavin was in the lead, but he didn't get it that year. Did not get it. Thank you so much for doing this.
Oh my God, my pleasure. This was great.
Baby, I see you in my TV set. Yeah, baby, I see you in my TV set. I cut your head off and put it in my...
There you go, Dana Gould, and probably more Little Richard impressions than you were hoping to have today, but I really love them. I am still laughing at I Invented Charlie's Angels. It was called Charlie's Hammers. Hilarious. Also, I reread that Playboy interview. I sent it to Dana after the show and reread it. And there's a thing I've forgotten there that Little Richard sincerely says he wants to be in a television series where he plays a butch detective. And I'm very sad that that never, ever happened, because that would be probably not only the greatest television show that ever happened, but easily the greatest piece of art ever produced in America. That's I'm going to go out on a limb and say that. And I just did. So big thanks to Dana Gould for again sitting down and doing that show with me. Also wanted to thank Andrea Hogan and Rick Jenkins from the Comedy Studio for letting me steal a little bit of space and time at the Hong Kong and Hartford Square to record that with Dana, and the Boston Comedy Festival for having him in town. I can't believe I actually got to talk to him. He again is one of my absolutely all-time favorite comedians. If you haven't checked him out, something's wrong with you. You should absolutely do that. If you are a Dana fan and you like this show, hopefully we'll see you here again. I think you'll enjoy other episodes of this show. You can contact me if you so wish at tvguidancecounselor@gmail.com or ken@icanread.com. That is my stand-up comedy page. I'm also a stand-up comedian, in case you didn't know. Or you can go to our Facebook page. Just search TV Guidance Counselor. We are also on Twitter at TV Guidance. Love hearing from you guys. If you like the show, please review it on iTunes or subscribe. It's a huge help for the show. And we'll see you again next time for a brand new edition of TV Guidance Counselor.
You know, fond memories of me at my worst. Kurt Russell told me,
Excellent.
you don't get to say that a lot.